How we doing, folks? Welcome to the Tuesday mess around. We are in the last week of our break from the Pigskin preview over on Mancini Sports, so this is going to be the version of our Friday show here on the Knucklehead Podcast Network. If you want to find us on YouTube, you can find us at Knucklehead Pods, as well as at Knuckpods, at KNUCKPODS on both Twitter, and that's our handle for our Facebook page. So as we get started here, just before we get started, I actually want to pass this over to Coach Shane McGowan, and he's up in Canada, just to kind of let him talk a little bit about well, I'll just pass it over and let you go ahead and talk about it, Coach. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And you know what? Thanks. Basically, just I want to give a quick shout out to everybody who has listened in the last little bit about the tragic accident that happened with a bus carrying 29 people, a junior hockey team out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, that were going to a playoff game. And a terrible, unfortunate situation happened where a collision happened with the bus and a tractor trailer. And we lost 15 people in this tragedy. And we've got another 14 that are really some in bad shape, critical conditions. Others are just trying to get their lives back in order. And it's been a real turnaround amongst the hockey community, from the NHL, juniors, all the way to the European League. But it also affects all of us as sports people, sports writers, announcers. On this bus was also some sports writers too. So, I mean, it affects everybody around the world. And a big shout out to everybody that has done so much for these people as well, with their GoFunds of over close to $7 million to help these families and all the people. So I really, really want to just give a shout out and a huge praise to all of us that know what's going on. And we wish these families, we wish that city of Humboldt all the love, respect, and best wishes. And this is what sports is also about, is bringing the communities together. And we are tonight going to put that. We are going to give a great show here in football, the NFL, with myself, Mr. Chris Rose, Mr. Coach Taylor, and also Mr. Baltimore Blaine. And like I said, again, thank you very much for all the support that's been going out to the hockey, to all these young players that are ages from 16 to 21. But like I said, a situation like this that is just very, very heartbreaking. But all the best of them, they will get through this with the help of everybody. Back to you, Mr. Chris Rose.
Yeah, that's tough stuff. Shane being up in Canada, he's close to that, so I wanted to make sure. Blaine had the idea last night. I wanted to make sure that we reached out and touched those and said something nice for those folks. As you notice, Mr. Mark Hirsch is not with us tonight. He is not feeling well, so get well wishes out to Mr. Hirsch up in Wisconsin. And let's start off with some news and notes from around the NFL, and something that kind of broke just a second ago. We were talking about it pre-show. Richie Incognito is retired, and let's just say, the league just got a little bit cleaner, because that is a nasty, nasty guy. That is a nasty player. He calmed down a little bit later on. I think he maybe missed the generation he was supposed to play in. I think he would have been a little better off in the 70s. But any of you guys, I guess let's go to you first, Blaine, since you haven't had a chance to jump in here yet. Do you have any Richie memories, since you're the one that kind of brought this up?
Well, the biggest one is the controversy where he got suspended by the Dolphins when Jonathan Martin incident, which he was accused of, and he and some other players were accused of bullying Jonathan Martin. And of course, Jonathan Martin has been in the news lately in not such a glowing light as well. Incognito says that the stress is killing him. He's under a lot of stress, and I guess he was just diagnosed that his liver and his kidneys are shutting down, and it's going to kill him. And he just, he's had enough, and he's getting out of the league. He'll probably have to pay back $1 million to the Dolphins or rather the Bills for that extension that they just gave him. And he recently fired his agent as well, probably over that last contract, I would think. But Yeah, it's. I think you're right. He would have been better playing in the '70s, where that was a nastier breed back then.
He would have been playing with the Steelers back then, man, where everybody was a cheater, so it doesn't matter.
No, the Raiders.
Well, yeah, well, we take convicts, so of course,
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, his attitude and everything like that, and you're right, I mean, you just got to YouTube the guy, and you're going to see him in destruction mode from the start. So you're right. I mean, hey, you know what? You got some money, you made some money, whether you kept it or you blew it. Well, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, you're going to find better old linemen out there that want to play the game and will take this and run with it. So wherever he goes, and whatever is going to happen. Won't put it past him to get himself into some kind of trouble. That's what I'm going to say right now. So I'll watch for it to happen, but I got a feeling he's going to get himself into some more kind of trouble.
But Christopher.
Yeah, I wanted to say also, I mean, but not making light, if he's really having health issues, all the best to him. Hopefully he'll recover from that it's not going to be anything too severe or any more severe than it is, and that he'll recover and get his health back. So well wishes to Mr. Incognito.
Mr. Taylor, what do you got to say for yourself tonight?
I lost Mr. Taylor for a second there. All right. Oh. Well, speaking of news, we have an award that I thought was going to be hands down given to one guy, and it turns out we have two guys that are going to win the award. We're going to give them a co-winners of the Jackass of the Week award. Our first one is going to go to a gentleman who thought it was a good idea to fake having bombs at an airport in the United States, which I'm sure Shane will tell us in a second is always a good idea. Not sure what the extent of how much trouble he's going to get in, but I mean, just how stupid you have to be. How stupid you have to be.
That is the most ridiculous thing, I think, in this time and age, in this decade, at LAX, to be saying anything remotely to the customs agents, hey, did you pack the explosives? That is just ridiculous. Like, seriously, you got to have a brain in your head to realize that you don't do those things. I mean, when you're going through security, the biggest thing is half the time you're nervous because you don't want to be checked or frisked. So this was just absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe that happened.
And I can tell by that baritone in the background, we got Coach Christopher Taylor back. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, great to be here, guys. I don't know what happened in the last little bubble. We were talking about incognito, but listen, so we and Coach Shane, you always speak so well about the mindset and mentality of athletes. And on the flip side of some of that, there's a sense of entitlement and can we say maybe an arrogance of being above the law sometimes when you're
consequences, untouchable.
Yeah, no consequences. Exactly.
You know it exactly.
And so they have the mindset of being untouchable, and there's just some things that are just not funny. And a lot of that, let's chalk it up to immaturity. A lot of that, let's chalk it up to the entitlement and how athletes of elite levels are treated from youth to high school to college and then into the pros, right?
Oh, exactly. You're absolutely correct on that. And I mean, you nailed it when you said the arrogance and the conceitedness of thinking that you're above everybody else because you're collecting a much bigger paycheck. That doesn't give you the right to come in there and put a scare into people and anything like that. So you know what? I do hope that they go do something about this in the league. And this is absolutely uncalled for. It really was.
Coach Taylor, you and I are very familiar with the LAX airport.
Absolutely.
Do they still have the signs up that state that these kind of statements are not taken as a joke? They're taken seriously,
right?
And
they're taken
and not to
very
do
much
it.
So,
yes,
but
sir.
Again,
this guy is the absolute knucklehead.
These are the very things that we're talking about right here. With the mindset, the arrogance to believe that you're above the law, and it is. It's posted everywhere, and they'll tell you we don't play with that. And I'm and not to involve politics, but this is a real situation. You have a time to where Worldwide terrorism is an immediate threat, and let's not talk about the worldwide terrorism. Let's talk about the local terrorism that's happening right here in our cities, Florida, LA, Chicago, New York, you name it, that are happening all the time. People are scared, and to bring that kind of insensitiveness, I guess you would call it insensitivity. What else would you call that? Man, the knucklehead. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey, we like to think of knucklehead as a positive thing on this show, but
that's the whole part. And that's I felt bad saying knucklehead, saying that we are on Knucklehead podcast, but he was just, just dumb.
No excuse, absolutely, Coach. Hey, Shane, I'm sorry, Blaine. How long do you think after he got in trouble he tried to pull the I'm a Green Bay Packer card?
I want to hear what his defense.
Yeah.
I want to hear what that defense was.
Yeah. So on the other side, I mentioned we have a co-winner, and you can imagine there's no one that can top that. But our good buddy Alden Smith is back in the news. So Shane, if you get in trouble, I'm sorry, Blaine. We'll start with you, and then we'll go to Coach Shane. If you get in trouble for some type of violence or issue, stalking, anything has to do with the woman, she calls the police on you. What's the first thing you do when you bail yourself out?
You stay away from them.
You should have.
You make your apologies. You go into your counseling program to do all the right things like that. Lay low. As long as it takes, just keep quiet. Stay in the shadows. Don't go anywhere near that situation. Stay as far away as you can.
So, Coach Shane, why don't you tell us who should have had Blaine's phone number last week?
What was that?
Who had basically what I was trying to set you up on is we're talking about Alden Smith.
Yes.
And so I'll let you go ahead and touch on that one, Coach Shane, since you got the background for it.
No, you know what? This is absolutely somebody that has got major issues with domestic violence and the spousal abuses and everything like that. His counseling needs to be way above what he's doing and what he's getting right now. But again, it's also a personality, unfortunately, that I think where he feels I can beat this on my own. A lot of people get that attitude in that way, and they don't get the right help that's needed to take care of this. And when you go back and you keep doing it, next thing you know, it gets a lot more violent and a lot more scarier. And that's what I fear the most when it comes to this type of situations. And I think a lot of us know that and have seen that with other athletes and even other people in general in certain media aspects. And to me, that's what's happening with this. And I mean, the man needs to be put away for a while. He needs the actual proper treatments and counseling. And I'm not saying that he should be in the league because I don't believe he should be. You burnt your bridges. It's time to move on, but become a better person. That's the way that you're gonna help things out. Is you got to become a better person, and this is what they need to look at in that way with him, Mr. Taylor.
I'm gonna share this, and I hate to go a long way to say something short, but when people boycotted. They boycotted because they understood that with wealth comes a voice. And they would hit them in the pocket because that is the place where it would do the most damage. You can march, you can hold hands, you can do all kind of things, but it didn't matter until you hit him in the pocket. This is the point with Alden Smith. As long as he has access to NFL money, he will have an untouchable mindset. Kick him out the league. Take his money until he does what it takes to earn that money. Because right now, in my opinion, a lot of these athletes, because they have access to these resources that most people don't have access to, such as, I'll just go get an attorney to beat this case, or I'll go hit him in the pocket. If you can't afford the attorney, if you can't afford the house, if you can't afford to go out to the clubs and get drunk and then want to go home, beat up your girlfriend, whatever the case is, then you can't do it. Hit him where it hurts. Take away access to the resources.
Well, his pocket's done now. Man.
Yeah, that's the whole point. But look at the access, and like Coach said, like Coach Shane said, this goes deeper than just something that's this is a psychological sickness.
Yeah.
You know, he needs some real
Repeat
help.
offender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Repeat
know,
offender.
if you do the same thing over and over again, that's a sickness. That is a problem. It could be I don't know his. You know, I don't even want to suggest what it could be, but there's a psychological sickness there, and
Yes.
so you have to approach it from that angle. Um, it, if you hit him in the pockets, hit him where it hurts, and then say, hey, you know you really need some help, man, and we be doing you an injustice to sit here and let you step on the field again with this baggage hanging over you. There's some life realities that you need to address first. And before anything else, I think athletes should be good citizens. I mean, dang, I don't think that's asking a whole lot, but you know.
Yeah. Hey, really quickly, Shane, you said you had another quick winner for us. We won't get too much into that one, but go ahead.
No, that was me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Blaine.
This is one for you, Coach Chris. Coach Taylor, there's a report that the Rams defensive end Ethan Westbrooks pleaded no contest to misdemeanor gun charges and was sentenced to 1 day in jail and 3 days probation, pleading no contest.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's psychological sickness there too. He might be a little butthurt because Ndamukong Suh is signed, and his chances of seeing the field a whole lot is getting slimmer and slimmer.
maybe they trade him away or something too.
Yeah, you see, you know, we got enough BA Barackuses, you know what I mean, on the team.
Oh,
We
exactly.
don't need another one.
We're gonna get
That's
a good.
We're gonna get into that in just a little bit.
Well, the one thing I wanted to say is, I agree with you, Chris Taylor, is that he's going to see his time on the field is going to be shorter and shorter because the league is probably going to discipline him on this with a suspension.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is the time of year when people start showing up for OTAs and things, and they start coming out and they're doing the drug testing. This is when those suspensions start coming out. Like our buddy Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis is in a 4 game, which means he's violated multiple times. And that's an older guy. It becomes a lot more attractive to give it a shot when you're getting older, get a little longer in the tooth. Especially, I mean, and he's a tough guy. He played a Super Bowl with a broken arm. So,
Coach, Chris, I just wanted to say that this is the one time, if your team's not in the news at this time of the year, you probably don't want them to be in the news. It's a good thing.
Well, speaking about that specifically, big news story came out. It is on NBC Sports by Tom Curran. It is the story about Gronk and Belichick kind of coming down on him in front of players. A lot of the problems have been going on. So I've kind of talked about this as a non-story because I don't believe that there's this many problems. We're losing someone there. Someone just fell down a hill. I don't think there's that many problems usually in a Patriots game, but in a Patriots camp, excuse me. But it looks like there is, and this one trainer just seems to be giving so many people problems. I'll start and pass this around. We'll go with you, Blaine, and then we'll talk to Coach Shane and come back to Coach Christopher. So, Blaine, I mean, what are you seeing about this? What sticks out to you with this story? And kind of we'll tell the story as we go. But tell me what sticks out to you about the story, and if you have to kind of expand on it for the listeners, please do so.
Well, the Patriots locker room is in a precarious situation where they pretty much exiled, or not pretty much, they exiled the trainer and partner of Tom Brady in this TB12 venture. It's a training program that Gronk has bought into, that Brady has bought into, but it goes counter to the Patriots training agreement or with their trainers. And it's a different type of system, and it's proven to be good for Gronk. and Brady, except for Gronk had a slow start due to the season. And apparently he was called out in front of players by Belichick in the beginning of the year. And maybe that tells why there is this rumor that there's tension between Gronk and Belichick and Gronk's decision to possibly retire and not play for the Patriots and not buying into the Patriot way anymore.
Well, the thing that happened with the calling out, just to give people clarity, is Gronk starting out slow last year. He was called out, and then he started working with Brady's guy outside of the facility. At which time he started to become more flexible, started seeing some real results, and it was positive. But they banned him from the facility because he was taking Patriots on outside of the training staff, and that pissed off Brady, pissed off Gronk, and Belichick chastised him again in front of players for going outside of the Patriot facility and the Patriot trainers to do that. So, Shane, what have you heard on this? What kind of stands out to you about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at it got real feisty heading towards into the playoff picture when Belichick said that this guy can't be on the sidelines anymore, and he's definitely not boarding no plane with us, and rightfully so. I mean, look at this is somebody that's not even part of that team. This is your own personal entourage. Well, guess what? That stays somewhere else. You as a team, you stick together as a team. You do things as a team. Belichick is coming from under a guy like Bill Parcells. Parcells will call you out left, right, and center and knew exactly how to do it. And Belichick's the same way. And Belichick's got the resume to say, I've got more Super Bowl rings and playoffs and everything else than any of you guys. So if you guys don't like it, too bad. And that's how it's going to be. Gronk, he needs to also understand that he's put himself into a big limelight picture by doing the dancing on the tables at the clubs and everything like that. He's not exactly putting a big smiley face on Belichick's face. You make yourself look a little bit like a goof at times. So like I said, not that he can't have fun, but again, you're injured for how much of the season on certain things, and yet they see you doing these other things outside of football. It starts to kind of take its toll on a coach. It really will. It'll make you question some things. It makes you look and go, does this guy really want to play here? Or does this guy just like the limelight, that is being brought on to him? Belichick will cut you on Christmas Day if he has to and wants to. That's what people have to understand about that organization. So like I said, if I'm Gronk, I got to look at things real carefully and say, what is it that I want to do? Where do I want to be? Simple as that. Mr. Coach Taylor.
Well, I agree with Shane. And Shane is always so sharp when it comes to the mindset of some of these athletes. And listen, when you have made the money that Gronk has made and had the success both on and off the field that Gronk has, plus the attention that Gronk has gotten both on and off the field, whether you consider it good or bad, you got to think that this is a young man, fairly young, single, and being a bachelor. I don't know how harmful dancing on the tables are, but man, at this point in time, it doesn't fit the mindset of what the professionalism that Belichick has in mindset for his athletes. And those people that usually break that mold usually don't last very long with the Patriots, and we've learned that. You have guys that listen. If you have the wrong mindset, and these coaches are adamant about that. You're there's no power, there's no person bigger than the coach. That's even the quarterback. I don't care how big of a stud he is. That's the mindset of a coach. And when you begin to draw, and we see Belichick in interviews. He deals with things cut and dry, no sugarcoating, no beating around the bush. He says what's on his mind, and that's it. He does the same thing in the locker room, and when it shakes the mold, then the coach starts looking at, is it worth having this guy on my team to have to deal with all of this BS that comes with it? So,
but can you imagine, Coach, can you imagine being in that locker room and having your top two players not buying into your training program, and what kind of example that sets for the rest of the team? when it's the top two players that's not backing you on that?
Well, listen, it's odd because, and I can't say right now, but when I played in college, we actually had our linebacker coach was a better, I would say, all around trainer than the actual training staff in one particular school. And that was because he himself was an athlete, and he himself he was a pro player and all these things. And so he understood flexibility and strength and all this other stuff. And we would stay to work out with him versus coming early in the morning to do the structured program. And it created a problem. But, results are results. I don't know if, so I kind of, maybe I'm on the other side.
But here's the thing, though, and you're absolutely correct. Results are results. But is this guy actually causing controversy in the locker room by saying, "Hey, the Patriots program isn't good enough. You got to come to me," and that is what's ticking Belichick off.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we got to also look at too, and saying it might not be the fact that they're getting results. It's how did this guy who has this personal training program set the tempo and the tone, and instead of being humble about it and getting more people, he went and been probably a bit of a jackass and thinks he can control because he's got the best quarterback in the league and everyone else. That's the way I see it.
Well,
he's also looking at his income potential. If I get 6 clients of this caliber out of 70 players, if I get 6 of you guys to pay me $5,000 a month, whatever, it's an increase for him. So again, he's marketing himself, and I get that. But this is the key. You have to be smart enough to know, and what we had to learn on our team. Do the structured program that they have in place, and you can always go do extra stuff. There's nothing stopping you from going to do the extra stuff. But again, I agree with you, Coach. I can't be in the locker room disrupting, telling the people, that, your training at work, your training regimen is crap and all this other stuff. You need to come and train with me. This is crap. Even if I feel that way.
Exactly.
That's just not something that you should do.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that you have to buy into the program. I think the problem with the Patriots locker room or program is that you're finding that you have two different philosophies of training that are countering each other. And so, I mean, I agree that, you're supposed to stay in that, and stay with the program that the team has set up with you. But now it's come to, it's out in public that this other program is out there and is showing results. And that's why I'm going to go against what you opened with, Chris, and say that it is a real problem in that Patriots locker room. This is not much to do about nothing.
Right. No, that's what I was trying to say, is that's what I was saying before, but now looking into it, it looks like it is something. So we'll let the fans. I'm going to leave them with a couple little tidbits about the story that just started to break. And if you guys want to send in any of your comments, any of your ideas, please send it to knuckleheadpods@gmail.com. That's knuckleheads with a K. Pods, all one word, @gmail.com. Please send us any messages. We'll make sure to get back to you. We'll read your stuff on air if we have time, and if we don't, we'll make sure and try and answer your question via writing and get you on the next show. So what I want to leave you guys with this story is a couple of things that don't get mentioned in the media too much about this. He's been with the team doing this with Brady and a couple of guys that Brady has brought in, like receivers and things, since 2005. So this isn't something that just happened all of a sudden. And talking about doing the extra, it's kind of murky, but it looks like Gronk was doing the in-house, and then he was doing the extra, and for some reason, because Gronk was saying that he is so much more flexible and kind of saying Guerrero's the reason why he made that big change at the beginning of the season, that's what ticked Belichick off. So, that's one of the things that you guys can think about. And get back to us. Make sure you write us. Once again, at knuckleheadpods@gmail.com. Okay, so we're lucky enough to have Coach Christopher on, and we're gonna fire some. We're gonna go straight to you here, Coach Christopher. We're gonna talk about your Rams.
Oh man.
And they've made some noise, and as we go about this, Shane, I want to hear from you. Besides your football info, I want to hear from you about some of the characters you got on there. You got guys like Peters who just jumped on. Let's start there. Let's start with the secondary. So you have Peters and Aqib Talib that just jumped on. Peters got kicked off of his college team, got suspended for fighting one of the early games with his cousin. Took a flag and threw it into the stands. Got suspended for that. I mean, just keeps getting booted off every team that he's on. Big problem as far as what he does. He also, on the football side, he's very good, but he tends to take a lot of risk, which is why he gets a lot of picks. But he also, in taking those risks, gets beat deep a lot. So there's not a lot, once in a while. That is a weakness in his game, I would say. With all that going on, we'll start with you. Why don't you give an idea of? I know you're going to be enthusiastic, but what you see working with this secondary? Because I know that bringing in Aqib, who played under Son of Bum, and we'll talk a little bit more about Son of Bum because I think he's the key to this. But he bringing him in, and he won a Super Bowl with Son of Bum, and he can be controlled. But I don't know about these other guys. Why don't you tell us what you see as far as football wise in the secondary, and then we'll let Shane and Blaine jump in after you. So go ahead, Coach Christopher.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on here to talk about my Rams. Anytime you guys need me to talk them up, you can always call on me, and I will be glad to talk about just how wonderful we look on paper. And I'm saying on paper because because we all know. Not to cross sports up, but the 1 year the Lakers got a team where they had Gary Payton, they had Karl Malone, they had Shaq, they had Kobe. You would think that team on paper was a shoe-in for the championship, but here come the Detroit Pistons, coached by Larry Brown, and they beat them. Why? Because just because on paper you have the best talent does not necessarily mean you have the best chemistry, and that's what's going to be important to see what pans out. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and I mean to play on words, and exactly what I'm saying is, but this offseason, the Rams have cornered the market, baby. We have two solid corners on both outside, both a little nasty, both with a little attitude. Peters, he's obviously very passionate about the way he plays football. And sometimes you need guys like this, and I hope Coach Shane will support me in saying this. You need guys on the team that are a little nasty, that are a little risky, that'll go for it, and play. I hope it's okay to say balls to the wall, but you need guys on your team like that. It just so happens that the Rams have picked up 4 of them, and so, but we'll see how that works. But you're looking at Peterson, and what about 65%? Like, so if they throw to him 100 times, 65% of the time he's either knocking the ball down or intercepting it, and the other 35% where he gets beat is because he's going for the big play. I'm not sure if I have a winning team, I can live with that, but when the team is not winning, then those attitudes become more intensified, and the actions become intensified. But winning solves a lot of those problems. So I'll tell you that much. How do you guys feel about that much?
Well, I said this from the start, is that I think they went after your secondary to get some experience in there, to get some leadership, because there's no question about that, is that that's what they lacked last year when it came down to playoffs. I think the kids in there got a little overwhelmed by the pressure and a little banged up too on certain things, and they really weren't reading things as well as they should have. But like I said, is personally, I think bringing in some veterans is needed, and you can mix them in and mix them out when you have to on certain situations. You're stacking the defense, especially on that line, which is great, and that's what you want. But like I said, though, how disciplined are they going to be? Are they going to be disciplined enough to not take bad penalties that's going to cost them, and they got to do double time? Or are they going to be the Son of Bum going to be able to control them and say, okay, we've got this. I'll allow you one dumb one, but don't take any more of these. And that's what I think is what's going to come down. And McVay's going to have his hands filled with that as well. But I think they can do some damage. There's no question about that. I can't knock them too much on paper. They look great, but it's going to come down to exactly how they're going to be running that defense. I do think, though, that they're going to be doing a lot of blitzing personally. I think they got enough speed out there that they can put a lot of pressure on everybody. So,
I agree.
Mr. Blaine, what are you thinking about this?
I agree. I agree with you. I think that on the field and on paper, you got a talented team here. And as far as gambling is concerned, most of your greats have been caught gambling. Ed Reed
Mm-hmm.
was a
Yeah.
gambler, and it didn't really catch up to him,
Excellent point.
until like he was, when he in his final years, he couldn't make those gambles anymore and still recover and make a play. But the problem that I see and I worry about this team is you got a lot of egos in that locker room that you have to keep, in check. And they've shown, and some of them like Sue and Peters have shown that they're hotheads and that they're going to lose it at times. And if that's happening off the field, well, picking up an official's flag and throwing it into the stands, I can tell you, Bart Scott will tell you that's not a good idea.
Right.
Back when he was with the Ravens and he did that against the
Yeah.
Patriots. And I'm gonna tell you what happened on that particular situation. The whole team fell apart on the field. The defense fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens if you got a guy who does not, thinks of it, gets into himself more than his team than being a teammate. So it's going to be a juggling act. It's going to be entertaining to see how these guys are kept in check, how much these guys are committed to the team rather than themselves. And I think that Son of Bum, might be the guy. If anybody can do it, probably him and McVay in combination. But
let me just
I'm
add
still
to
sitting
that,
on.
Blaine,
It's going to be entertaining.
and let me add to that, Blaine. You brought up an excellent point. And with the egos in the locker room and what is it that can control those egos? And I'm gonna share with you right now, and I know Coach Shane will agree with me. Winning will tame a whole lot of those egos. Listen, it is tough to be passionate and the best player on a losing team, especially when the rest of the players don't seem to have the same amount of passion about you. I've been on teams where people didn't care whether we won or lost. That wasn't me, man. We got to win at every cost. And if you don't have the same attitude about winning that we had, then we had some, one or two things. Either you adjusted to our way of thinking or you were no longer on the team. We would make things so uncomfortable for you that you would quit versus tolerate being a loser, and so that's where I'm coming from. I think winning will tame a whole lot of those egos. Go ahead.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to throw this over to Coach Shank. I want to kind of piggyback on what you're talking about. I think, there is some of that. But why don't you guys, we'll go Shane, Coach Christopher, then back to Blaine. Why don't you guys tell me about, I think that the big key to this that people aren't talking about, besides the fact that Son of Bum is just an awesome coach, he has been number one almost everywhere he's gone. He's been coaching football since the Love You Blue days in Houston in the 70s with his dad. I mean, he's a great coach. I think the acquisition of Aqib Talib, more than just, so forget about, we'll talk about X's and O's next, but mentally, having a guy who is a strong personality, who is a bit of that knucklehead, I guess you could say, but was under control when he was playing with Son of Bum over in Denver. He was playing with Wade in Denver. Having him in the locker room who's willing to stand up to the loudest of those knuckleheads, he'll stand eye to eye with Sue or any of those guys and say, listen, I've been to 2 Super Bowls. I won a Super Bowl with this coach. If you guys just listen up and keep the nonsense, you got the team to go. I've been on that team. I've done it. I've won it, and I've won it with this guy, and kind of puts him in line. So I want to hear what you think about that, Coach.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely correct. And right now that these guys are also talking to each other, just like we are, on the phones, getting ready for the OTAs, everything like that. And they're regrouping themselves into saying, there's a new team. This is a team that's going in a really positive direction, not only offensively, defensively, and special teams. What can I do to contribute to getting us to over that hump and into the big game at the end of the year? That's what these guys are going to be looking at as veterans. And so, like you said, yeah, they're going to stand up and say, listen, man, you guys, this is how it's going to be. And they're going to follow. The veterans are going to lead. The rookies and the other guys are going to just follow with them. And when they start seeing success, like you said, Coach Taylor, winning does bring out that positive attitude. it brings you up in that high of saying, you know what, we are on the right path. We are doing the right things. You can take Philadelphia last year and see exactly that type of role that those guys played by winning and how unselfish they were with the talent that they had too, and said, it's all about knowing and doing your job and not over pursuing things, but don't be naive and don't be ignorant out there and thinking it's just you. Be the team player. And that's what the Eagles did. And they had the success and they just controlled it. We even, like I said, bringing in a backup quarterback like that. So, Mr. Blaine, what do you think about that?
I think you're right. But you know, the emphasis is what can I do to help this team rather than what can I do to get my numbers up, man. I'm in a contract here, or I've got to impress everybody because you know I got a new fan base, and it's about me, and oh, this guy isn't doing his job over here. Let me straighten him out because I'm the vet. You know, that's not team. That's not how you handle things. I mean, that's an ego, and that's an I, and we all know the saying about I and team. So I think you're right, Coach Taylor. If you know winning makes a difference, but if you're not winning, and especially if you're not winning in a particular game, in Ndamukong Suh's, you know, where he's lost it in just particular games, you know, and done something stupid, you know, stepping on somebody or shoving somebody after the whistle. And those things are hard to breed out of a veteran that's been doing it his whole career. And just because he changes. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Blaine. But you know, you brought up the stepping on players, stuff like that kind of stuff. But again, all of that transitioning by being the best player on a bad team. But go ahead, continue your thought. I want to.
Oh no, I was just going to say that you know you can't breathe that out of somebody, and unfortunately, he was on bad teams. It doesn't mean that he's it's his way of doing things though. And you know, you like you say, you can't change a leopard spots or tiger stripes. Let's I'm willing to put it on the side and just see what happens here. But I'm just that those are the things that I have that are red flags for me. With these guys with reputations.
Oh, absolutely, and is I mean, very well put. But I'm going to add this tip, because one of the things that we learned, even with Aqib Talib, the most successful season he had was playing under the son of Bum. And so one of the things that is a plus by bringing Aqib Talib over to the Rams with you is someone that can vouch that the system works. You understand what I mean? A player with a reputation of his statute coming to a team saying, hey, buy into the system, guys. It worked. And it worked for me. Why? Because the most success that Aqib Talib had was playing under under Wade Phillips. I said Bum Phillips, Wade Phillips. So now those people that you bringing in here, you have a person that is an extension of the coach on the field. You understand what I mean now? Every team needs that guy that connects with the coach, but also connects with the team. And he's the guy that can, set the mindset right. And that's what you have with Aqib Talib, in my opinion. So I believe with those veterans that you brought in that can play in the system and that can understand what it means to play under Wade Phillips are now becoming extensions of the coach on the field. And so it makes things a little bit easier.
I just want to make one thing clear to the listeners. I'm pulling for the Rams. I like the Rams. I am. I'm pulling for the Rams. I like the Rams. I've always liked the Rams, except for when they left L.A. But
we'll have to start calling you L.A. Blaine.
No, not that. I'm not pulling from that much. But I think this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. That offense has gotten better. That defense has gotten better. That defense wasn't bad to begin with. So they've just gotten better. They're going to be scary if the cohesiveness of a team gels, and and as long as that's working for them, I think we see they're a favorite for at this point for the Super Bowl.
At least the NFC.
Yeah, I would go.
Yeah,
I would go NFC
if
West.
they play my Ravens, they're not going to win. But
Yeah,
Oh my
okay.
gosh!
All right,
I
so
was-
I want to go.
yeah,
I want to
I'm
go
gonna
to
say-
you. I want to go to you real quick, Coach Shane. So I don't think we can talk too much X's and O's on the defense until we get to the up front, and it's pretty basic that Coach Taylor was spot on. We almost said the exact same stuff. I think we're on the same page here. So let's see if we can make it 2 for 2, and we'll put you in the middle there, Shane. Having Akeem is going to be huge for Blum. I'm sorry for Bum. I did the same thing. He's older than we thought. It's going to be huge for Son of Bum. It's going to be huge for Wade Phillips. And X's and O's wise, you have two monsters coming right up your face every single play. You're running into a brick wall if you try and run the center. You're going to have guys like what's his name? That guy who converted from safety. He's a linebacker now.
John Johnson.
No, the kid from Alabama. Anyways, they have some super fast linebackers flying around. You got those. monsters.
Morrow.
No, I'm thinking of someone else. I'll think of it in a second. But you have them flying around, and that up front looks really good. But how much, when you have Aaron Donald, who's about to get paid a ton of money, Sue, who's been paid and never listens to anybody, Peters, how much? I mean, even though you have a key in that locker room with Son of Bum, and Son of Bum can really control some bad boys. I mean, isn't that kind of pushing it as far as personalities go? What do you think? And we'll let Coach Taylor give his thought.
I think you're at your max right now. Put it that way. I think you're at your max when it comes to the personalities, and I think this is what's going to. After this, you're going to see, did this system work? Did these players work in the system with Phillips and everybody like that? Because like you said, Donaldson's coming into his own like that. He's going to be paid. And he deserves to be paid. There's no question about it. The thing is that the schemes have to be right for these guys. And that's why I said is the coaches are going to have to figure that out real fast and understand what is going to work, what isn't, because of who they've got now. I do think that they can make it work, but they gotta stick together, even when they are down in a game, in a quarter, or whatever it might be, and the offense just isn't jiving like it has. All right, that defense has to not only step up big, but they got to do it as that team. It can't just be that one single guy. It's got to be everybody out there contributing. And I think if they can do that, you're right. I mean, this is going to be a very, very impactful team out there, and I'm looking forward to it. That's for sure. Mr. Taylor.
Well, you said it best, brother. I agree with the same thing. And all of those factors have to fall into place. There has to be a little bit of humility, a little bit of unselfishness. I know some of these guys are playing for contracts or playing for opportunities, but one of the beautiful parts is the Rams made moves, and they're not committing themselves to a lot of money or a lot of years, because you're getting Peters on the tail end of his initial deal, and you bought in Ndamukong Suh for 1 year, and same thing with Aqib Talib. You didn't bring him in for a lot. It didn't cost you a lot of money, so. If by chance it doesn't go right with Ndamukong Suh, you only bought him in for 1 year, and this, but he there has to be some humility and a little bit of selflessness, and they have to buy into the plan. And if they do, and play this as a team and not as an individual thing, I agree with you guys. It'll be a successful season. So we're looking forward to seeing.
Shane?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, is who are you going to? Back to me or back to Blaine?
I meant Blaine. Hey, you guys trying to host a show where one guy's named Shane, one guy's named Blaine. All right,
it's even more difficult. It's even more difficult when we switch name tags.
Yeah. I meant to go Blaine.
That was pretty good.
No, it's not. It's not anything else. I think I've covered everything, and it's been covered by you guys as well. That what you just said, Shane and Coach Taylor, about it's not me in this game. It's the team in this game. So I'm not going to pick up this yellow flag, or I'm not going to argue with the officials. I'm just going to get back to the huddle and get ready for the next play. And that's what I would like to see this these individual egos come to in this season.
Right.
All right, so let's jump over to the offensive side of the ball. And Brandon Cooks, we won't spend too much time on this. I'm going to go right back to you, Shane, and then Blaine, and then we'll go Shane, and we'll finish with Coach Christopher. I think it's pretty obvious as to what he brings. I think he's what they wanted in Watkins, but Watkins couldn't give, which is that deep threat, which is someone who can beat people one-on-one and someone who can stretch the field for those other receivers. And Gurley come out of the backfield. I think it's an absolute steal for the Rams. And I'm going to get to the Patriots side after this. So, Blaine, what do you think about this? And then we'll go Shane. Yes, Blaine with the B, and then Shane with an S. Go ahead, Baltimore.
I think it's a positive. It's an upgrade. You pick up Brandon Cooks, who for some reason didn't work out with the Patriots, although the numbers seemed to work out. The Patriots just decided that he wasn't worth re-signing, so he's over with the Rams now. I can't see. I think that it's another weapon for Goff, and that's it. I don't really have a lot to say on that one.
What? Yeah. I mean, there's no question about that. It's a huge upgrade in that way, with the speed, with the one-on-one that they needed for that deep threat. They believe Goff can get that ball out there to them and make something happen when need be, as well as the guys that got in close. My biggest thing I'm going to be watching this year is the fact that Gurley's contract is coming up. This kid is going to have a big-time season, I think, because he wants to get paid as one of the most elite quarterbacks, or running backs, also a guy that can come out of the backfield and catch and make the blocks. So I'm expecting him to have a huge, huge year this time around again, because I just think that there's a lot on the line when it comes to contract seasons like this. So this one's going to be real interesting. But Mr. Taylor, I want to ask you something, though, is the guys that have left in the off season. I mean, you lose a few naturally and things like that. What do you think about this Rams offense and the direction that they're going to go as well?
I like the direction. You bring in a receiver with experience at being a 1,000-yard receiver that can stretch the field vertically. It does nothing but open up opportunity for your other receivers underneath, your Woods, your Kupp, your Reynolds, and Gurley out the backfield, as you mentioned. So, we saw an upgrade in the offense last year. Opened up and them allowing Gurley to come out of the backfield. If you would have looked at the 7-9 Rams that were coached by the McVay's predecessor, you wouldn't have known that. You wouldn't have known.
What's that guy's name? What was that?
Can't even say his name. You're so embarrassed.
If you would have known,
doesn't he have a big billboard out there on Sunset Boulevard?
Oh, you guys, you familiar with him? Oh, good. But you wouldn't have known that Gurley was such a great receiver coming out of the backfield. It made defenses easy to scout and easy to, they put 8 in the box, 9 in the box, and they would dare us to throw, and we still wouldn't throw for some reason. And so now with the offense being wide open, you saw the maturation of Jared Goff, and you kind of got an idea, okay, now this kid was worth trading up all of the picks to get number one. And so, hopefully we'll see more expounding on that. Maybe we'll see a little bit more maturation from Cooper Kupp. Some of those catches that weren't catches that should have been catches, hopefully will be catches next year, because he was grown a little bit, and and you saw how and then he understands how important some of those would have been, and how it could have changed the outcome of some of those games. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. And we talk about McVay, but I think what just happened is that McVay has in Brandon Cooks what he had in Washington when he had Deshaun Jackson. That speedy guy that you can just throw the ball out there and he can go get it. And when it does happen, it is something awesome to see. So hopefully we'll see some of those explosive plays happening with the Rams this year as well.
Okay, but I got one more quick question for you then, coaches, on this is that who do you think the Rams should look at in the draft? Should they be looking offensively or defensively that they feel that they need to help out there? I mean, look, you need offensive line. There's no question about that. You need the guys out there, to keep Goff up, and you need to have guys open up for Gurley to make his runs too. So, but I'm just trying to figure out where do the Rams want to look at now coming up with the draft as well?
Personally, I think we'll look at some offensive linemen. I also think that we'll look at outside backer, safety types.
Can stop the run as well as cover.
Exactly. Guys that can stop the run and can cover as well. That's exactly what I mean when I say outside backer, safety types. And so I think they'll look at players of that caliber. We definitely need to improve the offensive line. We really don't need to touch the defensive line at all.
No, I don't think so. And that's what I'm saying is each team's going to need different things. And I do think you're absolutely correct. Offensive line they could always use, and if you can get a run stopper as well as a guy that can chase out of the backfield. I mean, Seattle used to have that too, but not anymore. They're in a reset mode.
Right. I don't know what's the.
Anyway. Actually, the only thing we haven't lost is our linebackers. That's the only thing we haven't gotten rid of is the two linebackers. No,
you guys are going to draft a kicker.
I wouldn't mind actually.
I love kickers.
Yeah. So,
what do you think about this? What do you think about the? Do you think? And I know this is off the cuff a little bit, but since we're talking about kickers, how relevant will kickers be in the future? It seems like they're trying to move the game away from punts and away from kickoffs.
Well, that's true, but also with the extended extra point things. I mean, you're talking about they're making fun of me with the kickers. Seattle's lost 2 wins at 35 or shorter field goals and 1 tie with a field goal. That's a huge difference. You know what I mean? Team gets all the way down there.
Extra points.
And the extra points are being farther away. I think kickers more important than ever.
But then you get the Eagles who kicks a field goal from 58 yards away to win a game.
Yeah, that kid, I rode that kid through fantasy for the entire season on FanDuel. That kicker from the Eagles was a weapon a lot of people didn't talk about. That kid was money, and he was hitting from long distances. So, it's interesting. By the way, folks, the linebacker I was talking about, the converted safety, is Mark Barron.
That's what I said, Barron.
Oh, I thought you said something else. I apologize. Mark Barron's the one I'm talking about. So that kind of speed back there with, with those big bodies just eating up that whole line, he can just fly through and smack some people. So I think that's something to look at. Just really quickly, on the other side, looking at the Patriots, Cooks really didn't do that much for them. They had to give up a 4th to get him. They got a 4th back for him. We always see the Patriots come out with some nobody, like Chris Hogan did 2 years ago. The name, especially for those of you who know, we have the Knucklehead Fantasy Project. They'll be starting up here pretty soon. The name I want everyone to remember, who kind of didn't do anything in his first team, but really not his fault, is Philip Dorsett. Philip Dorsett was picked up late last season, kind of under the radar. He was backing up Cooks. His comp coming out of college was Brandon Cooks. It's a 4.4, sub 4.4 guy, 4.3, 40 guy. Acts just as fast as Brandon Cooks. Hasn't had a lot of action. Hasn't really been, injury prone yet because he hasn't really been hit that much. He fits right into that spot. Patriots get a 1st round pick and that 4th round, and they have a guy in the exact mold of the guy they lost. That's one of those Belichick moves. I think the Patriots come out just fine from this move. So remember that for fantasy guys.
Let me add this to you on the same page that you just mentioned, Chris, because at the same time, the Patriots pulled the Patriot move. They traded away and then managed to get back into a 1st round pick. And people were like, they cheated. I'm like, no, this was an agreement between the Rams and the Patriots. So it's not cheating. But at the same token, the Rams that they have shown that they know how to find these 3rd round, 4th round pick guys. and can do something with them. I mean, Cooper Kupp is a perfect example. You know, who saw him in the third round that he would still be around? The Rams did. You know, so you know, I'm not really afraid by not having a first round pick. You know what I mean? Because they're still able to find those guys. So
well, you guys also through trades you have I think 5 or 6 first rounders just on your defense now.
Yeah, through trades. Yeah. So yeah.
Proven
I mean, look where Dak Prescott. Where was he drafted at?
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, this guy comes off the bench to help Tony Roma, and he's the biggest thing ever. And I mean, you're just like, wow, right?
Yeah.
And the Raiders could have had him, and the damn Raiders missed him.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
oh,
Russell Wilson's another one.
Come on.
Oh, third round.
Who was that?
Third round drafted backup. Third round drafted the backup free agent, and went and won the job, and now led the league in touchdown passes last year. That's won a Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls in his first 3 years, been the playoffs every year until this year. Stupid kicker.
Yeah.
And
well, it's okay. No, you can't just blame.
Just going back. What I'm saying is those
We're
later
going back
round
to
picks.
the Dave Craig days.
Yeah, going back. I'm a little older than that. I remember the lefty that opened the team.
I'm talking about the record.
Oh yeah, no, he led the NFL in touchdown passes last year.
Yeah.
So, anyways, talking about that formula. Actually, this is something that Coach Christopher can talk to, and we'll start with Blaine with the B. There's something to the formula, and the Rams are at the last part of this formula. We're going to jump into QBs now, where you see these people taking these young quarterbacks and really striking gold with them. I think Dallas really missed their chance year before last, where you don't have to pay that high salary for a quarterback, and that allows you to do a lot of things. You see it with the Eagles last year. You see it with the Rams right now, but they only have 2 years left of that luxury, but they have to pay Donald, and Gurley. You saw it with, like I mentioned, Seattle when they could pay for all those defenders because Russell Wilson was making, that rookie contract. And even to a point, you see it with Green Bay and the Patriots where, those guys are never really in the top 5 as far as salary is concerned. It kind of makes you wonder, like a team like San Francisco, who they're rebuilding and they look really tough, but having to pay that quarterback really limits what you can do. I mean, let's start with you, Blaine. What do you think about that? The need for because you're a victim on the other side when they had to pay Flacco and they made Flacco the highest paid player in the NFL. You saw a real dip in the defense.
And his production.
Chris, can you repeat that? Because you cut out there a little bit.
Oh, I apologize. So what I'm saying is the formula of winning with the younger quarterbacks when they're younger because you don't have to pay that big salary, and as opposed to that, having to pay those big salaries to quarterbacks, kind of killing the rest of the team. Eagles are in that window, Rams are in that window, and you caught the other side of that when Flacco's big contract really affected the rest of your roster. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think there's something to that, or do you think it's just happens to be the luck of the draw in the last few years?
It's somewhat of luck of the draw. I mean, but I think it's a lot of the luck of the draw because if you're drafting one of these younger quarterbacks, you don't know what, you're rolling the dice. So teams that want to win now are going for Jimmy Garoppolo and paying him, on a 5-year contract of $137.5 million. Or Kirk Cousins, who gets a 3-year, $84 million deal. These are teams that feel like they can do it now and that, that they're right there. Now we go to the Rams back when they drafted Goff, and this is the other thing. If you don't have the right coach in there, as we saw with the Rams, and what happened with Goff that first year, it's a gamble, and a team rebuilding can do a lot more with a smaller contract for a quarterback and grooming a quarterback that they've just drafted, who they feel is NFL ready or just about NFL ready. Have more money to spread around for the rest of the rebuilding project, or bringing pieces in if you think you're almost there and you think your quarterback is almost there as well. So I think that formula is great for a team that's not ready to win. And in the case of Flacco's contract is now, this is the last year that Flacco's contract is holding the team hostage. After this year, it becomes a much more manageable cap hit, and as far as salary and dead money. So if the Ravens do draft a quarterback somewhere in this draft, as I think they will, you can either have them sit behind Flacco and develop, or if he's ready and you're done with Flacco and you don't think, and Flacco has a bad year, another bad year, then you can just release Flacco. So I really buy into this formula of smaller salary, rookie contracts.
Well, okay, and you know what, you are correct in many ways with that. I do think though that with Garoppolo being under the Patriots system, not only got some of the best tutelage from Brady and from Belichick, that's what's established him to be who he is now. Joe Montana came out today and said the same thing of, you know what, let's see what this kid can do because he's got a big paycheck. If this kid can step up and be the player that the 49ers think he can be, that franchise guy, then they did the right thing. They signed him. They got him. It's done. And then you can look at Baltimore. Baltimore did that with Flacco right after he got that Super Bowl. Bam, they're bringing up the paychecks like no tomorrow. But what has he done after that, though, too? Now that becomes a bit of a question as well in certain things for every team out there. Cleveland's gone through more quarterbacks than anybody. It's absolutely ridiculous, and Miami. Well, it is. It's a merry-go-round out there, and it's still going to keep being like that until you get that guy who can solidify himself as the number one. But like I said, is a lot of these teams, I think, need to look at some quarterbacks and start training them to stay with the organization because you got to take over. And I'm going to look at Pittsburgh, and I'm also going to look at Mr. Tom Brady himself because there needs to be backups coming in for those teams very, very soon.
So yeah, real quick on that, Coach Christopher, because we're getting a little short on time here. I'm gonna jump the salary question unless you got something you really want to say about that, and we'll start with you and then go back the other way to Shane and Blaine. What do you think? What teams? Because anyone could go online and see 100 mock drafts of the first 5 or 6, the first 10. But what teams do you think are outside of that first 5 or 6 that people aren't talking about that really need a quarterback and should even look at jumping up? So we'll go to you and then Shane.
Oh, wow. Teams out of the top 5 that need a quarterback?
That aren't in the top 5. So the teams that
aren't
no one's
in the top 5.
Yeah.
Right, the ones that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that need a quarterback? Well, I can think of a couple. Arizona, in my opinion, needs a quarterback. I think also, believe it or not, I also think it's time for the Patriots to find a quarterback. Yeah. You don't know what you're going to get out of Tom Brady and how much longer you're going to get this elite performance. And right now he's above 40. Any time his body could stop. So and I know this is going to shock some of you when I say this. Well, outside of Houston, but maybe Tampa Bay, because I'm not sold on Winston yet. I'm just not. So I think that low key they should look for a replacement because I'm just not sold on Jameis Winston yet. At least not for that system. Maybe he'll fit better somewhere else. Like maybe he should go to Arizona and play there or something. But I don't know. I just don't think that those guys right there are lock solid. So yeah, Patriots should look, Arizona should look, and I think Tampa Bay. Those are outside of the top 5. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think in some ways, yeah, you're kind of right on that. I mean, I'm also looking at Pittsburgh. I don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do with Ben. Ben, I think, is one hit away, personally, from it being the end of him. I also think you got to look at teams in some ways like Miami. I don't know what's going to happen there. Arizona, I think Arizona is actually going to look to draft a quarterback if they can get one. Mm-hmm. I also think that Indianapolis is somebody that needs to take a look at things too, because you don't know what's going to happen with Andrew Luck yet. So,
Right.
To me, that's a little bit of a up and down type of situation too. And then there is also, I think my last one though is also, I'm going to say this too to Blaine is Baltimore. I'm not sure who's going to help them out too with Flacco.
I was saving that one for Blaine.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's one of my teams.
Right.
Along with Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to throw
Were you
Cincinnati.
finished?
No, I'm done. But I'm also going to throw
Okay.
Cincinnati in there too, because I think there's a lot of things happening in that city as well.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that one too. And I'll go with the Jets. I'll go with the other LA team, Chargers.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers isn't getting any younger.
Yeah, great point, Blaine.
Yep.
Great point.
That's a great mentorship spot. Yeah. And we were talking about,
I also feel like the Chargers should go for OBJ too.
And I also think the Giants are going to, depending on what they pick, are they going to pick a quarterback or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one. That's the one that everyone. Sorry, go ahead, Shane or Blaine.
No, I was just saying they're not talking long-term with Eli yet. I think Eli's about done anyway.
Yeah, Eli's about done. This is his last year. That's the one that you see in all the mock drafts. No one can really agree on is the Giants. People have him taken Barkley. People have him taken Chubb. People have him taken a couple of other people in that area. The Jets are going to take a quarterback, so it'll be interesting. But just to real quickly touch on something going back, we talked about some of those quarterbacks that fell and were picked up and now are elite quarterbacks in the NFL. This is the kind of year when everyone's talking about the quarterbacks at the top of the draft. This is that kind of year when you get those guys. This is that kind of year when everyone's focused on those guys at the top and some great talent falls to those second, third, and fourth rounds. So this would be a great year for some of those teams that you mentioned to pick up. And I just saw on the news today or yesterday that Andrew Luck hasn't even picked up a football. Not hasn't started throwing, hasn't even picked up a football. So I think, Indianapolis is definitely a good choice, and they have the power to trade up with Buffalo, and that could really change the whole face of the draft if they do try and jump up and get into that spot. And the Browns are in a position, if they can talk someone into going for a quarterback, that they can, keep stacking those picks like they've been doing for the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see, and we'll talk a little more about the draft as we get closer to it. Quick question, lightning question. Who do you think is has a better chance to break out this year? The kid in Kansas City, or one of the top 4 guys taken? And we'll go Blaine, Shane, and then Coach Christopher. So Mahomes versus
we're talking
Mahomes versus any one of the top 4 taken. Who do you think has a better chance? Like if I gave you bet on either Mahomes or bet on one of the top 4 rookies, who would you go with?
Mahomes.
Mahomes?
I got Mahomes. I got Mahomes too.
He's had the experience.
Absolutely, Mahomes.
Yeah,
I think because of the experience.
Yeah,
even at the practice
kids,
level.
Yeah, these kids coming up, they're you've already got that kid from UCLA who says, "Well, really, I don't need this." You know what I mean? Like, what the heck, man? Like, this is the wrong attitude and personality you need for a team that wants to draft you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no,
is
Mahomes
that a culture
of
UCLA though, Shane? I mean, you have Matt Leinart with that same kind of attitude, apparently.
That's USC.
Exactly.
Though.
Yeah.
You mean Pac-10? You mean the Pac?
Oh, it's
Pac-12
USC. You're right. I'm
attitude.
sorry. Wrong school.
Yeah.
Pac-12.
But let's just put it this way: everybody in LA is like that. Come on, guys.
Yeah. For the most part.
Hey, I'm like that. I don't need the experience, man.
Well, a lot of people are bashing on Mora for how he did when he had Rosen under him. That he should have done a better job in a lot of ways. So there might be something to that. Go ahead, Coach.
I was just going to say there's some entitlement to.
Oh, sorry, two coaches and two Ains on here. Go ahead, Coach Christopher, and then Coach Shane.
Oh yeah, I think you guys said it well. I think Sam Darnold was probably, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks that I would say is prepared, that is NFL ready now as far as the body and concern. I think he took more chances the second year than he did his first, And because of that, and it showed, the turnovers and all that other stuff showed. But he doesn't, none of those guys, those young guys, really wow me. So if we had to pick one, I would go with Mahomes too.
Well, and that's it exactly. And the only other guy I can think of that this do bad is Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think these are the leadership guys. They're not a Deshaun Watson type of material out there.
Right.
You got Baker Mayfield, who's going to try to prove that he deserves to be in the league. He reminds me of a Doug Flutie, like he's going to do too much and get himself into too much trouble. And that's just the way I'm seeing this quarterback's coming out right now.
But since you mentioned it, Coach Shane, Lamar Jackson would probably have the best adaptation to the NFL playbook because Louisville runs more of a pro system than SC or UCLA or any of those others, especially Wyoming.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's no question about that. I think he'd be the most comfortable in the pressure situations than those other guys. There's no question about that.
Right.
Well, I'm going to say that I think some of the kids coming in this year are a little more talented than Mahomes. And more pro ready, but I'm going to say that I lean towards Mahomes because of Andy Reid and the defense in the home field more than just his experience. I mean, his experience was good, but I think there's going to be a rookie, and maybe this will be what I'll dive into this next week. But there's going to be a rookie that's going to come out in one of those later rounds in this draft that's going to really surprise some people. Maybe get him on the Giants if they go with Barkley, or they go with someone else. Maybe get him in the later rounds. Some of these other teams that. A Pittsburgh or a Baltimore, they have a team ready that they could – if you got one of those quarterbacks on one of those two teams, I think they could do better than Mahomes in Kansas City. All right, guys, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Once again, at NuckPods with a K, KNUCKPODS, all one word, on Twitter and Facebook, as well as knuckleheadpods at gmail.com. This is our Tuesday mess around, so that's why we're just kind of all calling in, talking over each other, just having a good time. A couple of sports fans talking some football. It's getting close. We're gonna start seeing how the teams look pretty soon. Once draft comes, it's like you can start to smell football in the air. So I'm starting to get excited, starting to look for it. You'll see us this next Tuesday on Mancini Sports on Blog Talk Radio. And we'll have stuff coming out. We'll have a Friday mess around, and we're going to have a lot of stuff on this network here, Knucklehead Podcast Network. I want to say thank you to Coach Shane. I want to say thank you to Coach Christopher. Thank you to Baltimore Blaine. So much, guys, for coming on the show, and good night.